You've probably seen some of our other videos on navigating a partner's emotional issues. You know how hard it can be to understand their seemingly illogical behavior and the intense frustration that comes with it. To truly get what's happening on a deep psychological level, we need to understand the brain. So today, let's take a deep dive into how all these concepts like confirmation bias and emotional compartments relate to the brain. This will give you a clear map so you can handle those difficult and confusing moments with confidence. Part 1. Your brain's key players. Our brains are a symphony of networks running many tasks at once. To understand our story, let's meet the most important players. The default mode network, or DMN. This is the brain's storyteller. It's most active when you're not focused on the external world, involved in internally focused thoughts. Think of it as the brain's autopilot or daydreaming mode. The executive control network, or ECN. Think of the ECN as the brain's CEO. It takes charge when you need to focus, solve a problem, or make a decision. It's what helps you stay on task and execute a plan. The dorsal attention network, or DA. This is your brain's spotlight. It helps you intentionally focus on one thing while ignoring distractions. The DA and ECN often work together as a powerful team for goal-directed action. The salience network, or SN. This is the brain's switchboard operator. It constantly scans for what's most important, whether it's an emotional memory or a threat in the environment. Its key player, the amygdala, acts as an emotional alarm system. The SN works with dopamine to decide what's worth your brain's time and energy. Part 2. What happens during stress? The brain's stress response is a rapid, two-pathway system involving the amygdala and the ECN. This allows for a quick reaction to danger, followed by a more reasoned assessment. The amygdala's fast-track response. When you encounter a potential threat, sensory information travels a rapid, low-resolution low road directly to the amygdala. The amygdala, a key part of the brain's emotional hub, acts as a primitive alarm system. It quickly processes this crude information and, if it detects a potential threat, triggers the fight-or-flight response without waiting for the full picture. This immediate alarm leads to the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, preparing your body for action by increasing your heart rate, blood pressure, and blood sugar levels. This is why you can feel a rush of panic before you even know what's going on. The ECN's high road and reassessment. At the same time, the same sensory information travels along a slower, more detailed high road to the ECN, particularly the prefrontal cortex. The ECN's job is to analyze the situation with more context. Once the ECN reinterprets an event as a false alarm, for example, a shadow is just a coat. It sends inhibitory signals back to the amygdala. This conscious, top-down control effectively calms the amygdala down and stops the stress response, allowing the body to return to a state of normal functioning. Essentially, the amygdala is designed for speed over accuracy, giving you a quick survival advantage. The ECN, on the other hand, provides the detailed analysis that prevents you from constantly overreacting to harmless situations. This constant back and forth between the two systems is a core mechanism of how we manage stress. Part 3. Confirmation bias and emotional compartments. In a relationship, our brains are constantly working to understand our partner. Our DMN acts as the brain's storyteller, weaving a narrative about who our partner is, what they feel, and what the future of our relationship looks like. The brain never gets a perfect picture of reality. It has to constantly fill in the missing pieces. To do this, it relies on past experiences and existing beliefs. This is where confirmation bias emerges. The DMN stories create a default assumption. Our current understanding of our relationship must be correct. So, we selectively seek out information that confirms these beliefs, and we interpret new events in a way that aligns with our narratives. This provides a shortcut for the brain, allowing it to make sense of our relationship without the burden of processing every piece of raw data. This mental shortcut is a way for the brain to achieve cognitive resonance, a state of mental harmony where our beliefs are consistent. The DMN's narratives are what give events their personal meaning. An event is not inherently good or bad. It is the DMN's story that assigns it an emotional tag. Because each person's DMN has a unique set of life experiences and beliefs, the same event can lead to wildly different emotional outcomes in different individuals. For a person with a secure narrative, a quiet partner might simply be having a long day. For a person with a fear-based narrative, they might interpret the same quietness as, "My partner is upset with me," feeling immediate anxiety. This is why our emotional responses are so personal and subjective. Under conditions of stress, these interpretations often turn negative. When a relationship is under chronic emotional stress, the brain's processes become hijacked. The amygdala becomes hyperactive, constantly sending alarm signals that treat the partner's actions or even their mere presence as a potential threat. A healthy ECN uses GABA to send inhibitory signals to the amygdala, turning off the alarm. But with chronic stress, the ECN becomes less effective at this job. Its GABA-releasing neurons can't keep up with the powerful signals from the hyperactive amygdala. This leads to a state of perpetual anxiety and a negative confirmation bias. Over time, this repeated and uninhibited firing of the fear-based neural circuit creates a powerful, deeply ingrained network. This network, centered around the amygdala and parts of the DMN, becomes a well-worn pathway of relational fear and negative interpretation. We can call this a relational emotional compartment. This is not the GABA system itself, but rather a pathological, overactive circuit that the GABA system is failing to regulate. This network functions like an autopilot response. It's so strong that even a neutral or slightly positive event can trigger the entire fear-based narrative, leading to an immediate and powerful negative emotion. In a normal brain, confirmation bias is a general-purpose shortcut. But in a brain under chronic stress, the negative application of this shortcut becomes so entrenched that it carves out a powerful, automatic emotional compartment. It's a physical, neurological structure, a deeply reinforced network of neurons centered around the amygdala and parts of the DMN. This compartment then becomes the brain's default, automatically applying the confirmation bias without conscious thought. The combination of confirmation bias and the emotional compartment creates a neurobiological mechanism that makes a person unconsciously blind to positive emotions, leading to a feeling of emotional numbness or detachment from their partner, as all positive interactions are filtered out. Part 4. The unconscious blindness to change. This is where the most tragic effect begins. The emotional compartment works with confirmation bias to make the brain selectively blind to any evidence that contradicts the negative narrative. For the brain caught in this loop, the ECN's ability to feel genuine positive emotions toward the partner is severely diminished. The strong, well-worn negative pathways override any potential positive feelings. When a partner does something kind, thoughtful, or loving, the brain simply doesn't have the neural wiring to fully process it. The confirmation bias also makes the individual unconscious of any potential positive changes. The brain will ignore it, fail to register the positive action at all, filter it out, treat the positive change as an anomaly or a temporary fluke, reinterpret it negatively, twist the positive action into a self-serving or manipulative act. This creates a tragic, self-fulfilling prophecy. The individual's brain, trapped in its emotional compartment, cannot consciously perceive or appreciate the partner's genuine efforts. The partner's attempts to fix the relationship are met with emotional coldness or disbelief, which often leads them to give up. The individual's initial negative narrative is then confirmed by the partner's withdrawal, completing the vicious cycle. Breaking out of this deeply embedded emotional compartment is an immense challenge. Part 5. Putting it all together, the car analogy. To solidify this complex process, imagine the brain as a car. The DMN is the GPS, setting the destination and creating the story of your journey. The ECN is the driver, consciously trying to navigate and make decisions. The amygdala is the car alarm, blaring to warn of a threat. Under chronic stress, the GPS gets a broken, fear-based destination. It tells the driver, only follow the exit signs, which is confirmation bias. The constant conflict makes the alarm blare non-stop, exhausting the driver. To find peace, the driver installs a permanent kill switch on the alarm and walls it off. This is the emotional compartment. The tragic irony is that even though the driver is now calm, the GPS is still broken. They are stuck on a faulty route, unable to see the signs of repair or change because the very system designed to protect them has made them unconsciously blind to the truth. Part 6. The energy drain. Explained. So let's take that car analogy a step further. What happens when the original trigger for the emotional compartment is gone and the external threat is removed? Shouldn't the energy drain just stop? The reason it doesn't is that the energy consumption has shifted from processing an external threat to maintaining an internal state of threat. Think of it like this. The emotional compartment is a neural pathway that was built and reinforced by years of responding to a real external threat, your partner's negative behavior. Over time, this pathway became a deeply ingrained habit, a sort of emotional autopilot. When your partner changes and stops triggering those fear responses, your DMN is faced with a massive contradiction, a dual mindset known as cognitive dissonance. The brain's learned narrative, my partner is a threat, and I need to be on high alert. The new reality, my partner is acting in a kind, loving, and non-threatening way. The brain now has to expend an immense amount of energy on the internal conflict of these two opposing truths. The energy isn't being used to react to your partner. It's being used to maintain the old, negative narrative in the face of a new, contradictory reality. Here's where the energy goes: maintaining the autopilot. The emotional compartment is a well-oiled machine. It has a momentum of its own. Just like a car that was driven on a dirt road for years has ruts that are easy to fall back into, the brain has to constantly fight the urge to follow these deep neural ruts of fear and defensiveness. This takes conscious and subconscious effort. The effort of cognitive dissonance. When your partner does something positive, your brain has to do incredible mental gymnastics to either ignore it or reinterpret it negatively to preserve the old narrative. The brain is fighting itself. The part that wants to believe the new reality is in a constant battle with the deeply entrenched part that holds the old, painful story. This active suppression and reinterpretation is the true source of the energy drain. In short, the energy drain is no longer a response to your partner's actions. It's a result of your brain's internal struggle to choose between a past it knows and a present it can't yet trust. The energy is spent on the exhaustive effort of denying the new, positive reality to protect the old, negative emotional compartment.